Okay. Baruch Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh, to the start of Masechtas Nedarim, and we are once again dedicated by the Fisher family, Le'ilui Nishmas Basya Bas Rabit, Shlomo ben Avram Alevi, Perel Bas Ruvain, Neshama should have an aliyah. We are also sponsored Le'ilui Nishmas Matisyo Chaim ben Yaakov, Le'fu Shalem Efel Yomis ben Chayesara, and for the schus of Avram and Yom Benish B'Mak Yudis and family, by Yol Klugman and family for their Gesund Parnas and Nachas, and for Meir ben Chayesara. They should have a refuah shalema b'seich shayachel Yisrael. Kol kinuyei nedarim ka nedarim. All substitute nedarim are like nedarim. Now we're going to see that kinuyei nedarim means that nedarim are nemorim b'chol lashon. Nedarim can be said in any language, and therefore we make a neder by saying that something should be also like a carbon. So if in another language carbon is called kainach or kainis, and you say kikazeh like kainach or kainis in a different language, and the Ran says that means even if it's a slang, and kainach is a slang of carbon, it's a good neder. And this is true by nedarim, by vows, v'charamim kecharamim, and also charam. There are two types of charamim. One is chermei bedek habayis, where you dedicate something to temple maintenance. So if you say this money is cherem, it's dedicated to temple maintenance. If you say it's cherich or cherif, which is cherem in another language, it's also good. There is another type of cherem, which is chermei kohanim, when you dedicate something to the Kohanim. Ushvuas kishvuas. An oath is like a substitute of an oath is like an oath. So that means that if you say shvuah shelo yochel kikazeh, that's an oath not to eat this bread. If you say shvusa or shkuka, which is shvuah in another language, it's also a binding oath. And finally, a naziris k'naziris. Just like if you say, Hari alai nazir, you can't drink wine and cut your hair and contaminate to the dead for 30 days. If you say it in another language, Hari alai naziach, nazik, paziach, you're also a nazir. Now, the Gemara tells us there's a chsurei mechsura. It's a defective text here in the Mishnah. And the Mishnah is supposed to also say, Yodais nedarim k'nedarim. Abbreviated nedarim are also like nedarim. Now, we call it a yad because just like if you have a cup, you grab onto the yad, the handle, and you take the whole cup even though you're only holding on to the handle. But you get the whole cup. So also, even if you just say a handle of a vow, without saying the whole vow, that's called a yad l'neder, and it's abbreviated. Partial neder, it's still a good neder. So therefore, midrani mimach, I should be vowed from you, or meruchakani mimcha, or I should be distanced from you, or if you say, She'eni oichelach, I won't eat from you. She'eni toyem lach, I won't taste from you. Awesome. Now in the case of She'eni oichelach, I won't eat from you, or I won't taste from you, you didn't say the vow. You didn't say carbon. You didn't say it should be like a carbon. So you only said part of the vow. But even though it was only a partial statement, it's good. The same thing if you say, Meruchakani mimcha, I should be distanced from you. Or Mefreshani mimcha, I should be separated from you. But you didn't say as a carbon. You didn't say that it should be like a carbon, which is the way this is called. We're going to learn all about it in the Masechta. This is called hatfasa, that the only way it's forbidden is if you liken it to a davar another, to something else that is usher through a man-made prohibition. You have to compare it to a carbon or to hektish, which is also through a man-made isser, because I sanctify a carbon or I sanctify hektish. For example, if I say kikazek kabasar chazir, this loaf should be like swine, it's not usser, because basar chazir is not a man-made isser. So all of these languages are only partial abbreviated languages, and abbreviated language is good, and therefore usser. Menuda anilach, I'm excommunicated to you. Rabbi Akiva, now here the excommunicated is different. Because excommunicated could be that I should behave like one who is excommunicated, who has to distance myself 4 amos, because I'm forbidden like a carbon. So then that would be a yad. Or it could just mean that I'm saying I should be excommunicated. That's a whole statement, and it's not an eder. It's actually nothing, because I can't just be excommunicated, right? So then it wouldn't be good. So Rabbi Kiva was machmir. Rabbi Kiva hayachoichech bazeh lachmir. Rabbi Yehuda was hesitant in this. He was unsure, but choichech means he would rub his lips together. In other words, he was unsure. But he was tilting, was leaning that it is a yad, and you are aser, you are forbidden. Now, kinid, this is a very long Mishnah. Kinidrei rishon, if I say like the vow of the wicked. Now you have to know there's 2 ways to make a vow. I could say hari alai, or harezeh. If let's say I want to bring a carbon, so I could say harezeh, this is a carbon. Or I could say I accept upon myself a carbon. The righteous say harezeh, so that if it gets lost or it gets stolen, they're not chayiv to replace it. They don't say hari alai, because then if it gets lost and it gets stolen, they have to replace it. They might delay it, and they might be over an isser. So therefore, kinidre, if harizeh is called a nedava, hari alai is called a neder. So kinidre risham, if I say like the neder of the wicked, that's neder benazir, that's neder by a nazir, or bekarban, or beshvua. It's a neder by shvua because only wicked people make shvuas. Shvuas is very, very dangerous, because when you make a shvua, the Torah says that if you are going to mess up, lo yinake, it says in the Aseret Hadibros, you'll never be cleansed from the sin of a false oath. So if you say like the wicked make neder, they say hari alai. The wicked make naziris, because the nazir abstains from the pleasures of the world, wine. So that's a wicked thing. And the wicked do oaths. Kinidre ksherim. But if you say like the neder of a kosher, ksherim don't make a neder. They make a nedava. They say harizeh. They don't take a chance and say hari alai. So lo yamaklum. That's not good. Kinidvaisam. Oh, a nedava neder benazir b'karban. If you say if you're saying that you pledge to bring the karbanis of a nazir, let's say somebody was a nazir, and you pledge to bring the carbon of that nazir, but you say you're giving only a nedava, so then that's okay. That's a tzaddik does that. He doesn't take chances if they get lost. He doesn't take chances by a neder. So then that's acceptable by nazir and by carbon, not by shvua. There's no tzaddik does a shvua. Now remember we said kinuye nedarim kinedarim, substitute nedarim, even slang is acceptable. So therefore normally we would say carbon kikar zeh alai carbon, this loaf is like a carbon. Instead of carbon, those are slangs for carbon. Hariyelu kinuyim the carbon, those are substitutes for a carbon. Cheirek, cheirek, cheiref, which is slang for cheirim, harielu kinuyim lecheirim. And then that's a cheirim to bedek abayis when you say this money is cheirek, cheirek, or cheiref. Nozik, noziach, paziach, if you say hareini nozik, noziach, or paziach, harielu kinuyim lenaziris. That's a kinuy for naziris. Shvusa, shkuka. If you say shvusa shalayaychel, shkuka shalayaychel, that's a different slang for shvua. It's a good shvua. Or nadar b'mosa. Mosa is a slang for mumsa, which is shvua in Aramaic. Harielu kinuyim l'shvua. Now I just want to say that when I said that if you say kinidrei risham, it's a nadar b'nazir, I explained it about the wine. That's not the way that Mishna seems to be explaining it. If you say Kenidrei Risham Nada Benazir, this means that if Berish was a Nazir, and I say that I'm going to bring his karbanas, because a Nazir at the end of his term has to bring 3 karbanas, a chatas, an oila, and a shlamim. If I say Hare alai neder to bring Berish's karbanas, I want to do him a favor, I want to bring his karbanas. If I say Kenidrei Rishoim, it's binding, because the Rasha says neder. It's not safe, because if it gets lost or stolen, you have to replace it, and you might delay. If I say Kenidvaisam, that I plan to bring Berish's carbon nazir as a nadava, as that is proper, because that would be a nadava of kesherim, because kosher says Hari Alai Nedava, because he's not taking a chance, because Hari Alai Nedava is Hari Zeh, only this. If it gets lost or it gets stolen, I'm not mechuyev to replace it. By the way, the rest of the Masechta is not so hard. This was very detailed as we learned the concepts. We want to thank you very much for joining us. Please remember, Rabbi Isai, I'm going to be telling it to you again and again, that this Tuesday is going to be the Chumash year, and this Wednesday there will be a different time for the daf. It will be at 9 o'clock so that I can attend in the sands, all the way out in the sands. I'll be broadcasting from the sands. My son's honoree, he's getting the Kesser Shem Tov over there, and he wants me to come. So I'm going to it's Hashem. That's the schedule this week. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.